It's the wisdom of Yosef that we have to seek, especially here on Chanukah. Welcome to the Nesiva Shalom on all Parsha for Parshas Mikeitz, Shabbos Chanukah, and Rosh Chodesh Teves. In this week's Parsha, Paro identifies Yosef's greatness with words that we know. Acharei hodi Elokim es oscha es kol zos. After Hashem made known to you all of this, ein navon v'chacham kamocha. We would roughly translate that as there's nobody as wise as you. But what is the kavanah of Paro in these words? After all, you'll see that there are three key words here. In answering this, the Rebbe says that the original Saba Kadisha, or the first Lanim Rebbe, asks a kasha on a Gemara in Kiddushin. The Gemara in Kiddushin tells us that if a man is Mekadesh a woman, he is marrying her. He gives her the ring, but it's on a condition. And the condition is that he's a tzaddik gomer, a complete tzaddik. The Gemara tells us that she's Mekudeshes, she's indeed married, because in the language of the Gemara, Shema hear her tshuva bidaito. Maybe he did tshuva, he had thoughts of tshuva bidaito in his mind. The original Shalom Rebbe asks, how could it be like here he is, even if he's I missed this word in the Gemara, but even if he's a Rasha gomer, Shema hear her tshuva bidaito? Even if he's absolutely evil, he can become so great in 1 second. How is it that makes somebody a tzaddik gomer? So the Rebbe says, it's on the word bidaito that we have to focus. In describing wisdom, we know the Kabbalistic terms, and we know it from our davening as well. We know the terms chachma, bina, and das, translated perhaps as knowledge, understanding, and then das, which for now we'll call operational wisdom. The Rebbe says that chachma is associated with the head, with the mind, and bina is associated with the heart. These are the words of Chazal, these are the words of the Zohar. And so when there's knowledge of the head and there's knowledge of the heart, ultimately neither of those is the most important type of knowledge. That I know what I know, or that I feel and I'm emotional and motivated about what I know. But ultimately the most important is das. Das is operational wisdom. It is when chachma, the mind, and bina, the heart, come together to teach me what I ought to do and that I do it. A great American philosopher once said that for the simplicity on this side of the complexity, I wouldn't give a fig. But for the simplicity on the other side of the complexity, I would give my life. And so, lahavdil, that's the idea here of das, that we now know what to do. So listen to this incredible thing. Therefore, says the Rebbe, that Shema hear her tshuva bidaito, maybe he had thoughts of tshuva in his das, was that he had a complete fulfillment, he was whole in his mind and in his heart, such that he can now carry it out. That's a tzaddik gomer. That is somebody who has resolved completely to do the right thing. And this is the midah of Yosef HaTzadik, because Yosef HaTzadik is associated with das, inasmuch as das is associated with Shmiras HaYesod, the ability to take what I know about what HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks of me, and I understand, to actually operate in the sanctified way that a Jew should operate. There is a connection between das and Shmiras HaYesod. Now let's listen to the pasuk again. Acharei hodia Elokim oscha es kol zos. Once Hashem hodia, made known to you, that's das. You, Yosef, you have das. Ein navon v'chacham kamocha. There's nobody with bina and chachma quite like you. Listen to that again. Hodiacha. Ein chacham v'navon kamocha. There's no one, now that we see your das, Yosef, that you're the one who overcame the temptation of Eshes Potiphar, that you're the one who remained holy even here in Mitzrayim, then there's no one as qualified as you because of chachma and because of bina. Ein navon v'chacham kamocha. This is repeatedly the midah of Yosef HaTzadik, because Mitzrayim, they were completely shtufei zima. They were involved in all of the licentiousness that is inappropriate for a person to live. And therefore, when Chazal tells us that they were shtufei zima, Chazal also tell us that they came to Paro and said, what should we do? And Paro says to them, whatever Yosef says to you, that's what you should do. And Paro says to them, didn't you save food? How come you're hungry? They said, we did save it, but it's spoiled. So he says, if that's the case, you better go to Yosef, because Yosef doesn't spoil, Yosef expands. Now, here's the deal. Mitzrayim is involved in all the licentious behavior that's inappropriate. And although this part is a conversation that's a little bit too long for now, it's written by the Rebbe in another piece that we explored together a few years ago about the idea of the interrelationship between the sensual discipline and parnasa. You see, Yosef was the one who had this great discipline, and therefore his food expanded. You, the Mitzrayim, you have no discipline in this area, and therefore your food spoiled. Therefore he said, go and do whatever Yosef says to you. And Yosef says that they should all have bris milah. What's his purpose in giving them bris milah? Answer is, what he really means to say is, you should all live according to the bris milah, according to the way of sensual discipline. And therefore, the Divrei Shmuel says that when it says that he met with his brothers, it says, Vayis apak. He held himself back, Vayomer simu lachem, and he said, bring bread. So the Rebbe says that that's how it works. If we hold ourselves back, then the Ribbono Shel Olam says, bring bread. Because there's much bracha in parnasa and in the needs that we have from the physical realm when we discipline ourselves in that realm. Now, therefore, Yosef is das. Yosef is the one upon whose wisdom we can rely because he's the one who has incorporated the wisdom of the mind and the wisdom of the heart. This evokes the Rebbe's writings in Parshas Bo, where the Rebbe brings the Pirkei Rebbe Elazar that says that the blood that was on the doorposts before we left Mitzrayim was not only the blood of the Korban Pesach, but it was also mixed together with the blood of Bris Milah that the Yidden had undergone in order to eat Korban Pesach. What is the idea of this blood being mixed together and then spread on the doorposts? The concept is that the blood of the Korban Pesach is emunah, and the blood of the blood of the Bris Milah is kedusha. You see, the Yid has to be suffused with emunah and kedusha, a synthesis of both. That's das. Emunah is here, and kedusha is maybe over here, but the act that I'm going to carry it out is the real kedusha, that I'm going to live a certain disciplined life. That is das. That is the operational wisdom of Yosef. And therefore we have to put that on the doorposts to get out of Mitzrayim. Not only the blood of the Korban Pesach, but also the blood of the Bris Milah. That's Yosef in a nutshell. That's emunah and kedusha. The Rebbe concludes by saying that all of this is connected to Shabbos, because the pasuk says about Shabbos in Parshas Kisisa, La das ki ani Hashem mikadishchem, that you should have das. You should have operational wisdom. The Shabbos lifts us away from all the temptations. It connects us to the neshama. And therefore you should have the information and operational wisdom, ladas, to know. And I would add, Ki ani Hashem mikadishchem. We could learn like this. Ki ani Hashem, that I am Hashem, that's emunah. Mikadishchem, that's kedusha. That's chachma, that's bina, and that's das. All of these together, that's Yosef HaTzadik's midah, and that comes right here in Chanukah. The wonderful Chashav Rav of Kahal Hasidim in Chicago, my dear friend Rabbi Ephraim Tursky, in his sefer Sorry I Love Him, talks about the connection between Ruvain's attempt to give his mother dudoim and his attempt to save Yosef. That even though he didn't end up giving to his mother, didn't get the dudoim, and Yosef was not saved through his work. But the Medrash says that these are comparable to Chanukah. And Rav Tursky asks, how could they be compared to Chanukah? After all, neither of those was a success. But he explains that Chanukah has at its core a reality of ratzon, a desire to fill the galus with the light, a desire to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash, a desire to find that Pach Shemen that was not necessary. We didn't have to find the Pach Shemen. A desire to see it light up the world. He talks about this in great detail in his sefer, but we'll only take it from here to say that we may not always feel that we want or we can live up to the way of Yosef HaTzadik, to the operational wisdom of living a life of emunah and kedusha, living the way a Yid should live. But that is our mandate. That's our responsibility. That's how we got out of Mitzrayim in the Yosef's time. That's how we ruled over Mitzrayim like Yosef did. That's how we got out of Mitzrayim when we put the blood on the doorposts. And the Geula Hasidah may very well be waiting for us to live lives of Chachma, Das, of Chachma, Bina, and Das. That we will operate in the way that a Yid is supposed to operate. We will hold ourselves back from every indulgence. One donut might be enough this week. Why do I have to have so many? And of course, much more severe temptations that we have. And the idea is that on Chanukah, we can identify the little light that can be docha so much choshech. That little light is found in our ratzon, the desire that we have to see the moon fulfilled like Rosh Chodesh itself. The desire that we have, that Shabbos is coming, that makes our yearning for Hashem so much more. The desire that we have in Bris Milah, those 3 mitzvos that the Yevanim wanted to keep us back from, that all speak to Jewish Ratzon. May it be Hashem's will that we find inside of ourselves the Ratzon, the desire to be more like Yosef, the Ratzon, the desire to bring into the world Das, operational wisdom, because it can be said about all of us and about Klal Yisrael. You, the Yid, you're on a higher level. You have the Das to bring the light to the Gullus and to bring the light to our own lives and to bring the cause of the Geula Hasidah. Have a great Shabbos, a Freiliche Chanukah, and a good Chodesh.